Welcome, dear viewers, to our channel, where every story has a secret and every mystery has meaning. We take you beyond the headlines and deep into the truth that time has buried. Get ready to see the world like never before. Now we explain Greek creation myths and legendary heroes, a complete exploration of gods, humans, and moral lessons.
Greek creation myths are among the most influential stories in world culture. They represent the ancient Greeks' attempt to explain how the universe, gods, and humans came into existence at a time when scientific knowledge did not exist. These stories evolved gradually, beginning as oral traditions shared by poets and storytellers, and much later being written down by authors such as Hesiod and Homer. The Greeks believed that everything in the world had a divine origin and purpose. They used mythology to answer questions that all humans wonder about. Where did the world come from? Who controls nature? Why do humans exist? And why do we suffer? By telling these stories, the Greeks developed a sense of meaning about life and an understanding of their relationship with the gods. Although the myths were imaginative, they offered people a kind of truth about the human condition, describing both the beauty and the struggles of life. According to Greek mythology, the universe began not with a god, but with a mysterious state called chaos. Chaos was not simply confusion or disorder as the word suggests today. Instead, it was a dark, empty void where nothing had form or shape, a limitless space containing the possibility of everything. Out of chaos emerged several powerful primordials, the first beings who represented fundamental elements of the cosmos. The most important was Gaia, or Earth herself, who became the mother of all life and the foundation of existence. From Gaia came mountains, seas, and all the natural environments that humans would one day inhabit. Another being to emerge was Tartarus, a deep, dark abyss located beneath the Earth. Tartarus became the place where the wicked would be imprisoned. Eros also emerged, symbolizing the spiritual force of love and attraction that drives life forward. Night, known as Nyx, and darkness, known as Erebus, also came into existence, representing the unseen forces of the world. These early beings showed that the Greeks imagined creation as a natural and symbolic process rather than a human-like act of crafting life from nothing. Gaia soon produced Uranus, the sky, who became her partner. Uranus covered Gaia from above, and together they gave birth to the Titans, a group of powerful gods who represented different aspects of nature and time. Among these Titans were Oceanus, the great river surrounding the Earth, Hyperion, associated with the sun and heavenly light, and Cronus, who would later become the leader. Uranus and Gaia also produced the Cyclopes, strong, one-eyed craftsmen, and the Hecatoncheires, fearsome creatures with 100 hands and 50 heads. Uranus feared the power of these children, especially the monstrous Hecatoncheires, who seemed too destructive. To protect his authority, he imprisoned them deep within Gaia's body, causing her great suffering. Gaia began to resent Uranus and secretly crafted a sharp sickle from stone. She asked her sons to use the weapon to overthrow their father, but only Cronus was brave enough to accept the challenge. When Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, Cronus attacked him, slashing him with the sickle and driving him away. This violent event symbolized the separation of sky and earth, allowing the world to take shape. Uranus's blood fell upon the earth and gave rise to new beings, including the giants and the Furies, who represented vengeance. Thus, the Greeks believed that creation was born from conflict as well as growth. Cronus became the new ruler of the cosmos, and his era was known as the Golden Age. During this time, the world was peaceful and prosperous. Humans, who existed in a different form than they do today, lived without suffering, hunger, or war. They did not need to work, nor did they age painfully. However, the Greeks believed that no power lasted forever. Just as Cronus had overthrown Uranus, he too feared that his own children might overthrow him. A prophecy warned him that one of his children would rise against him, so Cronus decided to prevent the future from threatening his rule. Every time his wife Rhea gave birth, Cronus swallowed the newborn god. In this way, he consumed Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, trapping them within his body but not killing them. This behavior revealed a common theme in Greek mythology. powerful rulers often become cruel because they fear losing control. Cronus wanted to stop the cycle of rebellion, but destiny in Greek mythology was stronger than any god's will.
Rhea, heartbroken by the loss of her children, decided to save her sixth child, Zeus. She secretly gave birth to Zeus on the island of Crete and hid him in a cave. To protect the baby, she gave Cronus a stone wrapped in cloth instead, and Cronus swallowed it without noticing the trick. Zeus grew up in secrecy, cared for by nymphs and protected from discovery by warriors who made loud noises to hide his cries. When Zeus became an adult, he sought to free his siblings and take revenge on his father. With help from the Titaness Metis, Zeus gave Cronus a potion that forced him to vomit up the swallowed gods. The Olympian siblings emerged fully grown and united with Zeus to challenge Cronus and the Titans in a massive war known as the Titanomachy. The Titanomachy lasted for 10 years and shook the entire cosmos. Zeus and the Olympians fought from Mount Olympus while the Titans fought from Mount Othrys. Zeus released the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires from their imprisonment in gratitude for their help. The Cyclopes crafted 3 powerful weapons. Zeus received the thunderbolt, Poseidon the trident, and Hades a helmet of invisibility. These divine tools gave the Olympians a significant advantage. The Hecatoncheires hurled enormous rocks with their 100 hands, overwhelming the Titans with force. Eventually, the Olympians won the war. Zeus banished the Titans who opposed him to Tartarus, where they would be guarded forever. With this victory, Zeus and his siblings established a new and eternal order of gods known as the Olympian order. Zeus became the king of the gods, ruling the sky and enforcing justice with thunder and lightning. Once the gods gained control of the universe, the world needed to be filled with living beings. According to myth, humans were created by the Titan Prometheus, whose name means forethought. Prometheus was wise, clever, and sympathetic to human weakness. He shaped human beings out of clay, and Athena breathed life into them. Prometheus also taught humans how to survive by giving them skills such as building houses, farming crops, and making tools. However, humans remained vulnerable and powerless compared to the gods. They lacked fire, which symbolized knowledge and technology. Zeus believed fire belonged only to the gods, so he refused to share it with humans. Prometheus disobeyed Zeus, stole fire from Mount Olympus, and secretly gifted it to mankind. With fire, humans could cook food, protect themselves, and develop civilization. Though this helped human progress, Zeus saw the act as a betrayal. As punishment for defying his authority, Zeus ordered Prometheus to be chained to a remote mountain. Every day, an eagle came to tear out his liver, and each night the liver grew back, forcing Prometheus to suffer endlessly. This torment was not only a punishment for the gods and humans alike, but a warning that rebellion would always have consequences. However, Zeus did not stop with punishing Prometheus. He wanted humans to realize that every gift comes with a cost. He commanded Hephaestus and the gods to create a woman named Pandora, the first woman in Greek mythology. She was beautiful and charming, but she carried a sealed jar, often called a box. Driven by curiosity, she opened it, releasing all the troubles of the world: illness, envy, greed, despair, and death. By the time she closed the jar, only hope remained inside. This myth explained why humans suffer yet continue to persevere. It emphasized that curiosity and ambition can lead to hardship, but hope gives strength to endure.
Other myths said that humans were created multiple times, each race more flawed than the one before. In these stories, the first humans lived in a golden age without pain. But over time, humanity declined through the Silver, Bronze, Heroic, and Iron Ages. The current age, the Iron Age, is full of work, conflict, and suffering. This idea taught the Greeks that humanity was far from perfect and that hardship was a natural part of existence. The Greeks believed humans must struggle to survive and improve because they were not divine.
By telling these stories, they explored the moral and emotional challenges of human life, accepting suffering as unavoidable but encouraging perseverance. The gods also influenced nature. Zeus caused storms and lightning, Poseidon caused earthquakes by striking the ground with his trident, and Demeter controlled the fertility of the earth. When Demeter's daughter Persephone was taken to the underworld by Hades, Demeter's grief caused the earth to become cold and barren. This explained the change of seasons. Greek myths used the behavior and emotions of gods to explain natural events. The world did not operate independently, but was connected to divine powers. Humans needed to respect nature because it was under the control of gods who demanded honor and worship. Though Zeus ruled the universe, he too was subject to an older force known as fate. The Moirai, or fates, determined the destiny of every being, even the gods. This belief showed the Greeks saw life as governed by both divine will and unavoidable destiny. Fate could not be changed, even with great power. Because of this, the Greeks encouraged acceptance and wisdom rather than arrogance. They saw creation not as random, but as planned within the limits of destiny. Greek creation myths played many roles in society. They were religious guides that helped people understand the gods they worshipped. They explained natural and human experiences that seemed mysterious. They also justified authority by showing how Zeus created justice after defeating cruel rulers like Uranus and Cronus. The myths reflected values such as bravery, intelligence, respect for family, and obedience to the gods. Yet they also warned against pride and disobedience. The Greeks recognized that everyone, even gods, made mistakes. For example, Cronus swallowed his children due to fear. Zeus punished humans out of anger, and Pandora opened the jar because of curiosity. These actions showed that emotions could bring both creation and destruction. Gender roles were another important part of creation myths. Gaia, the earth, was the first mother and a powerful force, but later the male gods gained dominance in ruling the universe. Pandora reflected the idea that women could bring both beauty and trouble. Myths often portrayed women as essential to creation and family life, but also as unpredictable. This contributed to a social structure in which men held political power, while women were expected to focus on family and domestic responsibilities. Through mythology, cultural norms were passed down to each generation.
The creation myths also influenced ancient Greek art, literature, and education. Temples were decorated with images of the gods establishing order in the universe. Pottery and sculptures showed scenes from the Titanomachy, the creation of humans and the punishment of Prometheus. These artworks helped people learn the stories visually. Students were taught myths as part of their education because the stories contained moral lessons and explained natural phenomena. Even basic subjects like astronomy were introduced through myths about the stars and constellations. Myths served as a bridge between imagination and knowledge. The legacy of Greek creation myths has lasted for thousands of years. Their themes continue to inspire writers, artists, and filmmakers today. The story of Prometheus symbolizes scientific progress and the risks that come with knowledge. The idea of powerful leaders becoming tyrants, seen in the stories of Uranus and Cronus, remains relevant in discussions of politics and justice. The struggle between order and chaos, shown in the battles against the titans and monsters like Typhon, still resonates in modern storytelling. Greek mythology remains popular because it speaks to universal human experiences: fear, hope, ambition, love, suffering, and the search for meaning. In conclusion, Greek creation myths reveal a world shaped by both conflict and creativity. From the empty void of chaos emerged life, order, and culture. The struggles between generations of gods symbolize the constant fight between power and justice. Humans were created with weaknesses, but also with the gift of hope, enabling them to survive despite suffering. The myths show that the Greeks saw the universe as an interconnected system ruled by gods, guided by fate, and inhabited by humans who must work to understand their place in it.
These ancient stories continue to be important because they express deep truths about life and offer imaginative answers to the greatest questions of existence. Even though the Greeks lived long ago, their creation myths allow us to connect with their wisdom, creativity, and curiosity about the origins of the world. Greek mythology did not end with the creation of the cosmos and the establishment of the Olympian gods. It extended into detailed accounts of human civilization, divine interactions, and moral lessons embedded in stories about heroes, monsters, and the natural world. While Part 1 focused on the origin of the universe and the initial struggles between generations of gods, Part 2 examines how these myths explain the development of human society, the introduction of culture and knowledge, and the enduring lessons that Greeks drew from the divine world. The ancient Greeks believed that their myths were both entertainment and instruction, providing insights into morality, justice, and the consequences of human action, all framed within the powerful context of a cosmos ruled by gods. Once Zeus and the Olympians had established their rule, they faced the challenge of creating order not just in the divine realm, but in the world of humans. Humans were created to populate the earth, but their existence came with difficulties. Prometheus, the Titan who had fashioned humanity out of clay, continued to be central to human progress. His gift of fire symbolized the spark of civilization, enabling people to cook food, forge metal, and build shelters. Beyond the physical benefits, fire represented knowledge and foresight. Humans, though mortal and fragile, could improve their circumstances through learning and ingenuity. Prometheus's defiance of Zeus, however, served as a cautionary tale about the balance between power and responsibility. Humans gained knowledge, but it came with the risk of angering the gods and facing unforeseen consequences. Pandora's story complements this theme, illustrating the duality of human experience. The release of misfortunes from her jar explained why suffering exists in the world, while the retention of hope suggested that humans could endure hardship. These myths established moral lessons for ancient Greeks, emphasizing resilience, prudence, and respect for divine authority. Life was understood as a combination of joy and suffering, opportunity and danger, reflecting the complexity of existence. The Greeks accepted suffering as inevitable, but hope and wisdom provided humans with tools to navigate life's challenges. The development of agriculture and social institutions was also linked to divine influence. Demeter, goddess of agriculture, taught humans how to cultivate crops, providing food and stability. Her daughter, Persephone, became central to explaining the cycles of planting and harvest. Persephone's annual descent into the underworld caused Demeter's grief, creating winter, while her return brought spring and fertility. Through these myths, the Greeks connected human labor and the natural environment to divine rhythms, encouraging respect for agriculture as a divine gift. These stories underscored the importance of ritual, prayer, and festival in ensuring that society remained aligned with the will of the gods.
In addition to agriculture, Greek myths explain the origins of social order, law, and governance. Zeus, as king of the gods, was seen as the ultimate source of justice. His actions, whether punishing disobedience or rewarding loyalty, demonstrated principles that humans were expected to emulate. The consequences faced by Cronus, Prometheus, and other figures served as models for human conduct. Obedience, fairness, courage, and prudence were highly valued. By linking moral behavior to divine consequences, the myths reinforced the idea that ethics were not arbitrary, but grounded in cosmic order. Through storytelling, Greeks taught lessons about leadership, responsibility, and the consequences of hubris. The interaction between gods and humans often took the form of tests or challenges. Heroes such as Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus exemplified the qualities admired by the Greeks: courage, intelligence, and determination. These heroes frequently navigated tasks assigned by the gods or faced monstrous beings, reflecting the ongoing tension between human effort and divine will. Even though humans were weak compared to gods, these stories emphasized that skill, wisdom, and moral integrity allowed mortals to succeed. Such myths reinforced the belief that humans were co-creators of their destiny, able to influence their lives while remaining subject to divine oversight. Natural phenomena continued to be explained through mythology. Earthquakes, storms, and volcanic eruptions were not random but caused by the gods' actions. Poseidon's anger brought earthquakes, while Zeus's wrath manifested as lightning and thunderstorms. The cycles of life and death, including the journey of souls to the underworld, were shaped by divine forces. Mortals were thus encouraged to respect nature, to understand that the environment was interconnected with human life, and to recognize the gods' power. Myth provided an early form of cosmology, blending observation with imagination to create a meaningful narrative about the world. The Greeks also used myths to explore abstract concepts such as fate, justice, and mortality. Fate, embodied by the Moirai, governed the lifespan and destiny of all beings. Even Zeus was bound by the decrees of the fates, demonstrating that no one, not even the king of gods, could escape destiny. This concept underscored the limitations of power and emphasized humility. Mortality was understood as a natural consequence of human creation. Humans were not gods and could not achieve immortality. These beliefs encouraged Greeks to value life, to act wisely, and to leave a legacy of virtue, courage, and wisdom. Creation myths were also central to Greek religion and ritual. Temples, sacrifices, and festivals reinforced the connection between humans and gods. Myths guided social practices, helping people navigate moral, agricultural, and civic responsibilities. The Olympians' authority was maintained not only through fear, but through recognition of their role in sustaining life and order. By honoring the gods, humans participated in the continued creation and maintenance of the cosmos. In this sense, mythology was a living tradition, shaping both spiritual and practical aspects of daily life.
The role of women in creation myths remained complex and symbolic. Gaia's primordial power demonstrated that women were central to the creation of life, yet male gods dominated governance and decision-making. Pandora's story reflected anxieties about women's influence, portraying them as sources of both beauty and disruption. Female deities such as Hera, Demeter, and Athena had significant roles in shaping human society, but their influence was often mediated through male authority. These myths reflected and reinforced societal gender norms, teaching that women were vital to life and culture, but that ultimate power rested with male leadership. Yet through the actions of goddesses, the Greeks acknowledged that women could wield wisdom, strategy, and strength, contributing meaningfully to human and divine affairs. The artistic and educational impact of creation myths continued to grow in Greek culture. Stories of gods, titans, and heroes were immortalized in sculptures, frescoes, pottery, and theatrical performances. These visual and performative representations reinforced oral and written traditions, allowing myths to reach a broad audience. Education relied on myth as a tool to convey moral, social, and natural knowledge. Students learned about ethical behavior, social norms, and the forces of nature through engaging narratives, fostering both imagination and understanding. Mythology was thus integral to cultivating civic values, artistic creativity, and intellectual growth.
Greek mythology is not only a collection of stories about creation and the origins of gods and humans, it is also a rich tapestry of adventures, moral lessons, and symbolic narratives that explore human behavior, divine interaction, and the natural world. While the first two parts of this series focused on the origins of the universe, the establishment of the Olympian gods, and the creation of humans, Part 3 emphasizes the myths of heroes, monsters, and the enduring moral and cultural lessons these myths impart. The stories of Greek heroes and their encounters with monsters reveal how the ancient Greeks understood courage, intelligence, morality, and the consequences of human action in a world governed by powerful divine forces. The Greek hero is a central figure in mythology, representing the bridge between humans and the divine. Heroes were often demigods,
born of a god and a mortal, which granted them extraordinary abilities, but also left them vulnerable to human weaknesses. The hero's journey frequently involved challenges set by the gods or obstacles in the natural and supernatural world, testing both physical strength and moral character. One of the most famous heroes is Heracles, whose 12 labors demonstrate resilience, intelligence, and courage. Heracles faced a series of tasks that included slaying the Nemean lion, capturing the Ereminthean boar, and retrieving the golden apples of the Hesperides. Each labor was not simply a test of strength, but also a moral and strategic challenge, requiring patience, problem-solving, and endurance. Through Heracles, the Greeks conveyed the idea that humans must combine physical ability with wisdom and moral judgment to succeed. Another notable hero is Perseus, who defeated the Gorgon Medusa. Medusa's gaze could turn humans to stone, symbolizing the paralyzing power of fear and danger. Perseus, guided by divine assistance, including gifts from Athena and Hermes, was able to overcome the threat through cleverness and courage. His story illustrates that intelligence, preparation, and courage are as important as brute strength in overcoming challenges. Similarly, Theseus, the hero who entered the labyrinth to defeat the Minotaur, demonstrated resourcefulness, strategy, and moral determination. By following Ariadne's guidance and using a thread to navigate the labyrinth, Theseus was able to succeed where many others had failed. These myths emphasize the value of guidance, planning, and courage in human endeavors. Monsters and supernatural beings in Greek mythology often represented the dangers of nature, chaos, or human flaws. They were not merely obstacles for heroes, they symbolized moral and existential challenges. The Minotaur, a creature that was half man and half bull, reflected the consequences of human pride, sin, and divine punishment. King Minos's failure to follow the gods' instructions led to the creation of the Minotaur, demonstrating that disobedience to divine will could produce disaster. Likewise, the Hydra, a multi-headed serpent defeated by Heracles, symbolized problems that multiplied if not addressed wisely. The Greeks used monsters as metaphors for challenges in life, illustrating that courage, intelligence, and persistence were necessary to overcome threats.
Greek mythology also explored the complex relationships between humans and the gods. The gods were not distant or indifferent. They frequently interacted with humans, offering help, imposing tests, or punishing wrongdoing. Athena, goddess of wisdom, frequently aided heroes who demonstrated intelligence and moral courage, while Ares, the god of war, symbolized the destructive aspects of conflict. These interactions conveyed moral lessons. Favor from the gods was granted to those who acted wisely, bravely, and ethically, while reckless, arrogant, or immoral behavior often led to suffering or punishment. For instance, the story of Niobe, who boasted of her superiority to the goddess Leto, resulted in the loss of her children as punishment for hubris. Greek myths consistently reinforced the value of humility, prudence, and respect for divine authority. The moral lessons embedded in these myths were essential for guiding human behavior. Greek mythology emphasized that actions had consequences, that intelligence was as valuable as strength, and that courage was necessary to confront adversity. The heroes' journeys were both physical and ethical trials, demonstrating the consequences of choices. For instance, the story of Odysseus in the Odyssey exemplifies the virtues of patience, cleverness, and resilience. Odysseus faced numerous challenges, including the Cyclopes, Polyphemus, the Sirens, and the witch Circe, each symbolizing different dangers and moral tests. Through perseverance, intelligence, and adherence to certain ethical principles, Odysseus was able to return home safely, illustrating the importance of virtue in achieving long-term goals. Greek myths also explored human desires and weaknesses, often through cautionary tales. Hubris, or excessive pride, was one of the most common faults leading to suffering.
Figures such as Icarus, who flew too close to the sun despite warnings, and Arachne, who challenged Athena in weaving, illustrate the consequences of arrogance and disrespect toward authority. These stories conveyed that ambition and skill must be tempered by humility and prudence. Conversely, virtues such as loyalty, courage, and intelligence were rewarded. The balance between risk and prudence, ambition and humility was a central theme in Greek mythology, guiding both moral behavior and societal expectations. Monsters and supernatural beings were not only symbolic, but also functioned as narrative tools to explain natural phenomena and human fears. Typhon, described as a monstrous giant with hundreds of heads and serpentine features, represented the forces of chaos and natural disaster. His defeat by Zeus symbolized the triumph of order over chaos, a theme central to Greek mythology. Similarly, the Gigantomachy, the battle between the Olympians and the giants, reinforced the importance of courage, strategy, and divine favor and overcoming threats to stability. Through these stories, the Greeks illustrated that life involved constant struggle and that the establishment of order required both divine authority and human effort. The myths also addressed ethical dilemmas and social values. The stories of heroes and monsters encouraged people to act wisely, demonstrate courage, respect the gods, and uphold justice. They taught that intelligence and creativity could overcome physical challenges, and that moral conduct had consequences not only in human society, but also in relation to the divine. These myths reinforce cultural values, shaping education, civic behavior, and interpersonal relationships. Through storytelling, the Greeks communicated norms, ethics, and the importance of balancing ambition with responsibility.
The enduring appeal of Greek mythology lies in its universality and depth. Themes of struggle, morality, heroism, and the consequences of human action remain relevant across time and cultures. The conflicts between heroes and monsters, the trials of mortals, and the interactions with divine beings continue to resonate in modern literature, cinema, and popular culture. The narratives provide insights into human psychology, society, and the natural world, illustrating the timeless human quest to understand life and existence. In conclusion, Greek mythology, particularly the stories of heroes, monsters, and moral lessons, extends the narrative of creation into a rich exploration of human experience, divine interaction, and societal values. Heroes such as Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus demonstrate courage, intelligence, and moral strength, while monsters symbolize danger, chaos, and the consequences of human or divine actions. The myths teach the importance of virtue, humility, prudence, and perseverance in the face of challenges. By connecting human behavior with divine oversight, Greek mythology offers enduring lessons about morality, ambition, and the human capacity for resilience. These stories, though ancient, remain relevant and powerful, reflecting the complexities of life, the nature of the universe, and the enduring human search for meaning and understanding.